I believe the Department of Justice would prosecute him for lying to Congress under oath. And so Dr. Fauci was not willing to tell the truth, that he was a craven liar who destroyed jobs, who destroyed lives, who destroyed the future of kids.
Americans lost jobs, schools, businesses, years off their life here, guys. And then Fauci stood up and took the fifth 111 times. And Cruz says that should tell you something.
The reason he had to plead the fifth is his alternative was lying to Congress. And that's something, sadly, Dr. Fauci has done repeatedly. What has become public now is his private diaries, and his private diaries reveal that he was lying to Congress and lying to the American people day after day, week after week, month after month throughout the entire COVID pandemic. For example, in his diaries, he noted in January, at the beginning of the pandemic, that it was obvious that COVID did not originate in the wet market. And yet he went on national television. He told Congress COVID came to the wet market. It did not come from the Wuhan Institute for Virology. It was not a leak from a Chinese government lab. Now, there's a reason for that, which is Dr. Fauci was responsible for releasing funds that funded what I believe was the research, the gain-of-function research that modified and created the COVID virus. So he was covering his own rear end when he was doing that, but he was deliberately lying. And you look at his diaries also that show just a megalomaniac. I mean, he was just, he described himself as a rock star on TV. He was interested in being in TV rather than saving people's lives. And so he faced a challenge because, yes, the pardon that Joe Biden corruptly gave him to cover up from his criminality, that was retrospective. That covered past crimes. But if he went to the Senate and lied again yesterday, I believe the Department of Justice would prosecute him for lying to Congress under oath. And so Dr. Fauci was not willing to tell the truth, that he was a craven liar who destroyed jobs, who destroyed lives, who destroyed the future of kids. Another lie that he revealed in his diary is he was reveling in convincing Democrats in New York and California to shut down schools. He was thrilled that he convinced them to shut down schools. And then Dr. Fauci went on TV and said, oh, I wasn't for the shutdowns. I didn't urge anyone to shut down schools. That was a lie. And Maria, I think 10 years from now, social scientists are going to look back at the school shutdowns during the COVID pandemic and view it as the most inexplicable, disastrous public policy decision in modern times. We now have the data that the learning loss due to Democrats shutting down schools for over a year
is
the highest that has ever been recorded. And the racial gap, the gap between African American and white students, the gap between Hispanic and white students grew more due to the Democrat shutdowns, due to Dr. Fauci shutdowns, than it ever has in the history of America. That's why he pleaded the fifth, because he couldn't defend his own conduct.
That's unbelievable. Guys, and that's exactly why he kept pleading the fifth. Because again, exactly what Cruz just said would have come to fruition here. If he would have said anything that was not above board, if they know without a doubt that they can prove that he was involved in something, but then yet they asked him a question about it here, and then his response was the exact opposite of it. Kind of by default here, you're lying to Congress.
Well, if it was done by the auto pen, could it be challenged?
Well, let's take that one at a time. Yes, lying to Congress is a felony. It is a felony punishable by a long prison term. The reason he wasn't prosecuted is because Joe Biden and the Democrats agreed with his lies. They wanted him to lie. They've elevated him to the position of folk hero. You know, I tweeted out yesterday, James Tallarico, the extreme left-wing Democrat running for Senate in Texas, he tweeted out at one point this action figure. He had Dr. Fauci as this like superhero.
Oh, I remember this.
I did have to ask, gosh, if you push the lever, does it plead the fifth? Which he did 111 times. The Democrats, they wanted him to lie. They agreed with his lie.
They needed him to.
Because let's take the school shutdowns. You have Randy Weingarten, the radical left-wing president of one of the biggest teachers unions, who was for the shutdowns and was advocating for the shutdowns. And understand, the Democrat Party did not give a damn that they were hurting kids. They didn't care at all, because for them it's about power and staying in power. So he should have been prosecuted. On your question, if the pardon is valid, that is an undecided legal question. I think there's a real argument. So constitutionally, the Department of Justice the Office of Legal Counsel has determined the president does not need to physically sign a pardon to make it valid. He can direct that it be signed, and the Department of Justice has said that is valid. The real question on the auto pens is, did Joe Biden have any awareness? Of all the pardons he signed at the end, do you know the one that he hand signed? That would be his son, Hunter Biden. Right. It was the only one he hand signed. And I have publicly called on my podcast, Verdict with Ted Cruz, for the Department of Justice and the White House to examine, is there any paper trail indicating that Joe Biden authorized the pardon of Fauci? Because if he didn't, that pardon is invalid, and I hope this Department of Justice will bring a prosecution and make the legal argument that a White House staffer trying to cover up every Democrat henchman, which and the pardons Biden issued were vast and unprecedented, including to his entire family, were not valid if the president did not himself directly authorize them.
Towards the end here, it kind of sounds like a pipe dream here. All right. Trying to overturn a pardon is going to absolutely be an interesting path to take here. I think we're going to have to just deal with the fact that Fauci has been pardoned. Understand this here. So he has been pardoned here. He then walks into Congress. He then pleads the fifth 111 times here. Absolutely reprehensible, specifically knowing exactly now, at least, what he has done here to the planet and along to the United States of America here. He then walks into Congress, pleads the fifth, and does not answer a single question, because he knows in order to keep up the party line here, in order to keep up the literal lie here, right? What does he have to do? Not say anything here. Because if he doesn't add anything new to the story, then the story is the story that he got pardoned for. That's basically the game that's being played here. Are we going to have any type of reversal of his pardon? Absolutely not, guys. Right? That's going to be a storm. Every single thing is a slippery slope. All right. Specifically when it comes down to politics. So if we're going to go on a ledge here and say, let's go ahead and revoke Fauci's pardon. Okay. What happens next? All right. What happens if some deranged blue state Democrat, sanctuary city, current modern day contemporary governor, let's just say this here, miraculously finds a way to basically dupe Americans, right, into voting for him? Then he takes office and then starts to go down the line of trying to figure out who exactly was against their woke hive mind ideology the entirety of the time here that had potentially gotten a pardon, right? Understand the idea of the slippery slope, and I will not go ahead and call it a fallacy here, my guys. I think this is, in fact, a slippery slope here. So it needs to be maintained, number one here, for the sake of everything going forward here. And if you ever find out in some memoir or something that the truth is legitimately different, and we can kind of get some type of, guarantee that it's different, let's say this year, then go after him. It's not the most honest thing in the world after all that has happened around the world and nationally here, that Fauci should at least say something. You don't want to say anything now, right? Now. Okay. And the idea of the auto pen situation here, it's pretty valid. That feels valid. Anyone can basically have done anything, but Ted Cruz's response to why potentially that may have been a thing, I don't really agree with that. Right. I don't think that some blue eyed, I'm gonna say blue eyed because in the context, doesn't matter the color of the eyes, guys. Some blue as in Democrat. All right. Blue-eyed Democrat, right? Let's just say this year, was like, hey, listen, Fauci did all of these. I don't think that's a thing. All right. I don't really think that's too much of a thing. I think that legitimately, Biden, I don't know, bro, maybe it was early in the morning or something. Well, he didn't really care, but, maybe it was early in the morning or something, and Biden, and they gave him a piece of paperwork. They gave, and the people that were I don't know, guys, the people that were actually running the country when Biden was in office, let's say this year, they just ended up doing it. Right. Do I think Biden had any knowledge of it? I think he had knowledge of his son. Right. Again, hence the reason why he actually physically signed it. He wanted to make sure that one cannot be overturned here, my guys. All right. That's a valid point here. But I do not think that some random staffer had it signed. Yeah, I don't know. That's a lot, bro. You're going to hijack the president's auto pen and sign without his knowledge of it? I don't know, guys. That has to be some type of crazy charge or something, bro. All right. But either way, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. If you guys are new here, please like and subscribe. And in the meantime, guys, I'll go ahead and catch you guys later.